Welcome to Looking at Lyme, an educational podcast of the Canadian Lyme Disease Foundation, designed to increase awareness, empower listeners with expert knowledge, and explore solutions. I'm Catherine Kinsella.
And I'm Sophia Osborne.
In this podcast, we speak with Sarah Quillen, Executive Director of the International Lyme and Associated Diseases Society, or ILADS, and ILADS' sister organization, the International Lyme and Associated Disease Education Foundation. Sarah received her Master's in Public Affairs from the University of North Carolina and is a Certified Fundraising Executive. With over 25 years of experience in the healthcare arena, including fundraising, public relations, and program development, Sarah is building on the important work that ILADS has done over the years to support researchers, clinicians, and their patients.
Welcome to the podcast, Sarah.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here and talk about ILADS and hopefully see what we can do to work with Lyme more.
And so first, could you tell us about how you became interested in Lyme disease?
Oh, absolutely. So as you just heard in my bio, my background has been all in the nonprofit sector in the health and human services, mostly in hospice and palliative care and end-of-life care. And I actually became interested in Lyme many years ago. I grew up in upstate New York, surrounded by ticks for my entire life, and didn't really think much of it until my father bit by a tick, and luckily for us, was able to get tested quickly and got the typical antibiotic treatment, and everything was great. And fast forward another year, he got it again. Fast forward another year, and so 5 times he's had Lyme disease over the years. And the last time was kind of the unfortunately typical story that I'm sure you all have heard of. Undiagnosed or misdiagnosed, and went for a long time with the wrong treatment or no treatment, and finally got the right care. And I feel like still has a little bit of long Lyme. I know that's a controversial topic to talk about, but I know he's still dealing with some of the effects of that on an ongoing basis. And so through my professional network, I learned about this position and learned about my predecessor retiring, and they're doing an executive search, and kind of submitted my resume and went from there, and had a fantastic interview process where I actually got to know both ILADS and both ILADF boards and really got into a lot of the details of it. And I've now been there a year. As of February, it's been a year, and I think we're making some great strides. So that's the long version.
And what is your role then at ILADS?
So as executive director, I wear a lot of hats. We are a small but mighty team. We only have a handful of staff here at both organizations. And so really I see my role as, I'm not the clinician, but I bring a business acumen. So I'm the duck swimming underwater, getting all the administrative things, make sure everything's running smoothly, but also be able to steward the needs of our members. And of course, from the ILADF side, our donors, and make sure we are being responsive to the community and serving those educational and research needs that are out there of clinicians who are in the trenches caring for patients.
For listeners who haven't heard of ILADS or ILADF, could you tell us, who you are and what you do?
Oh, happy to. So actually, this year we are in our 25th year. So we'll be celebrating our 25th anniversary. And so ILADS is a nonprofit, international, multidisciplinary medical society. And we're dedicated to the diagnosis and treatment of Lyme disease and complex inflammatory diseases. So as you know, that includes all kinds of other illnesses, co-infections beyond, I would say, just Lyme disease. We promote awareness, we do education, we do research, we support all manner of medical clinicians, physicians, MDs, DOs, naturopaths, scientists, researchers, everybody under the healthcare spectrum who's dedicated to defining and advancing this high standard of care.
I know there are a lot of education programs through ILADS and ILADF. What's a good place for clinicians to start when they want to know more about vector-borne illnesses?
Oh, that's well, immediately go to our website and you will get a whole host of information at ilads.org. But I will say for members or for, I would say, ILADS curious, the signature offerings that we have, and the first signature offering we have is the Vector-Borne Illness Fundamentals. It was created in 2013 and we update it every year. And it's a pretty intensive workshop We do it on site at our annual scientific conference. There's a virtual option that you can download on demand. And if you are interested in learning about tick-borne illness, this is the way to go, because it lays out what kind of ticks there are, all the different kinds of ticks, and all the different diseases that they carry. We kind of half-heartedly joke that ticks are nature's dirty needle, and they have hundreds of diseases that they carry. And we go into every one of those. There's modules that go into the diagnostics and the testing and the identification. And then probably most important, it goes into different modes of treatment. And ILADS includes allopathic and naturopathic training. I always want to make that clear, because I think that's a misconception that people have about ILADS. We have a large cadre of folks that really go the naturopath route, and we include all of that in the care of the patient. And the vector-borne illness fundamentals really gets into that. Beyond that, we have a pretty robust learning website that has on-demand webinars that we do at least one webinar every month, and they're open to members and non-members. Obviously, it's a member benefit. They don't have to pay, but if you're not a member, we do charge a nominal fee to keep the lights on, so to speak. And those topics run the gamut of all topics. And I'll give you an example. We just hosted a seminar on mold and toxicity. So folks who are treating patients with it's a perfect entree into that topic. We go into all kinds of different, very specific things that, again, go back into disease and into treatment protocols and things like that. The biggest part, and this, I'll talk about this probably multiple times, we have an annual scientific conference that we do every year. 2024, we will be in San Antonio. And again, there's plenty more information on our website. But if you really want to get down deep into learning, the scientific conference is really the way to go.
And what kind of mentoring opportunities are available?
That's another great opportunity, and one of our signature offerings. We have a physician's training program that we offer, and that is hands-on shadowing. There's a whole number of hours, 30 hours, that the trainee would go with a preceptor. And we actually have a lot of our trainees do multiple times with the preceptor, which is really kind of cool. They find that they've spent a week with the preceptor in the office, hands-on, seeing patients, learning the ropes, and it's never enough. They come back. And of course, you've built that relationship with that preceptor, who of course is one of our ILADS leadership. But that's probably the best thing. And we need to change the name, in my opinion, because it's not just for physicians. We have DOs and NDs that also are a part of that. I will say, as a prerequisite to be part of that program, you do need to have completed the fundamentals program, which, like I said, that's our initial signature offering. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to do more of those kind of hands-on training, because I think that's where it's at. I think that's really one of the great opportunities that ILADS can offer. We have this fantastic membership roles of folks who have really been in the trenches doing this work for years, and new practitioners coming in, or maybe just new practitioners to this community, can really learn a lot. And so a lot of those opportunities we want to be able to build on.
And are those mostly in-person mentoring opportunities?
They are mostly in person, although we do, because we are international and we're in over 20-something countries, we know that it's not always feasible to get from country to country. We try to make every effort to help the trainee and the preceptor connect in person at least once, but then there is always the opportunity of virtual. And I'll put a plug in here at this point. On the ILADS side, I know I'll talk hopefully a little bit more about that in a minute, but there are opportunities that we offer through the Education Foundation to help cover some of those expenses, because we know it's expensive, to take time off of your busy schedule to spend time shadowing with a preceptor. And then also we want to make sure that you have the best experience possible. And if travel is your only inhibitor, let's try to help get that out of the way so that you can experience that.
And so could you talk a bit about the different ways that ILADS is involved with research?
Oh, that's a great question. So interestingly, ILADS, in our mission, research has always been a part of it, but I think we've been quietly doing it behind the scenes. And I feel like that day is past. We need to we need to invest in research, and we need to bring it to the forefront. And I will say also, as a caveat, we do work with some of the larger organizations that are already doing great research. There's plenty of academic institutions and some of the private foundations that are doing some phenomenal research that ILADS members are a part of. And actually, I know that you all have interviewed some of them, which has been fantastic. So a couple of things that ILADS offers. So on our website, we have, again, a robust website full of academic articles and research that our members are doing. So I always want to put a plug in for that. If folks are just curious to see what is out there and what kind of research has been done, we really try to update that on an ongoing basis and showcase that, because that's some fantastic research that our members have done. But from the ILAD side, we're actually embarking on, we're kind of internally calling it a big data project. We need to come up with a better name than that. It's not necessarily big data, but we are wanting to gather data from all these clinicians who are, again, in the trenches doing the work of patients, and bring them to a clearinghouse so that ILADS members and outside are able to draw on some of that patient data to be able to do further research. So let us be the clearinghouse. We've got the number of patients. We make the information anonymous, so nobody has to worry about what patient is doing what, and be able to offer that so folks will have the most robust organic data to be able to do their research. That's really, I think, where the niche that ILADS can fit in on that. It would be great eventually if once we build our roles, to be able to do our own research, our own clinical trials and our own clinical research. But I feel like this is really where we can fit in. We have the members, we have the folks who are serving patients. Let's be able to compile that data to be able to send it out to folks.
Yeah, it's so important to get that patient data into some research studies and make some sense of it. I wanted to ask you, what is it like to attend an ILADS conference?
Oh, it's a lot. I actually went to my first in Boston in October 2023, in my first year at ILADS. And again, I'm not a clinician, and it was mesmerizing. And I know that some of these folks, I mean, we've got some of the most accomplished trailblazers in this community coming to speak and do presentations. And it is 3 days of just intense learning. There's multiple tracks at any given time. We start the conference off with our fundamentals course. So if you've never come and you want to be on site, this is the way to do it. And then 3 other days of presentations, learning. We offer CMEs for this. So we want to make sure that folks are getting everything that they can out of it. But in our title, I want to stress this, it's an annual scientific conference. And so we really, I know the term cutting edge has probably been used too much, but we really try to see what is new out there. We have a pretty robust, and I know I've used that word quite often, but we have a pretty robust program committee that sorts through abstracts that folks put in. And if it doesn't hold the sniff test, it doesn't get past this committee. So there's a whole approval process that goes on behind the scenes to get this annual scientific conference to the caliber that we think it needs to be. So the result is, like I said, a pretty intense several days of learning. And then in between that, I see the value of networking, because oftentimes clinicians and scientists, you're in the trenches, you're in the minutia of this work. It's nice to be able to get out of your office for a moment, right? And network with colleagues and clinicians just on a general level, but also it's another opportunity to learn and to ask questions. Hey, I've got this patient that is presenting with this, and it's kind of stumped me, and I just learned about methylene blue. How do I implement that to my patients? And it really offers clinician to clinician one-on-one time, networking time, and it offers that additional reward, I feel like, from being there in person. The other thing I want to stress too, as part of this conference, we record every session, because we realize when you have 2 or 3 tracks going on at the same time, it is impossible to get to all of them, and it's just exhausting. So we do make those recordings available. And if you've attended the conference in person, you have access to all of those recordings online. If you didn't get to attend the conference, then you of course can purchase the whole conference. You can purchase what sessions you are interested in. We really kind of curate that experience for you to make it the most valuable for you.
How many people usually attend the conferences?
So last year we had, I think, about 400 true attendees. And of course, then you add in exhibitors and speakers and things, that number bumps up. But, it's been interesting. I've been looking at the years prior to my coming, and some of the conferences have been quite large, double that, and then some. And then COVID, of course, and we're building back up. My hope is that when we get to San Antonio in November for the 25th annual scientific conference, that our numbers will be much higher again. And I think that is predicated on, again, placement within geographically to make sure that most people can attend from the West and East Coast, and hopefully from Canada and internationally, as well as offering a really good agenda that people want to come and attend and be part of this experience.
I've heard so many positive comments about people that have attended the conference in the past, and just that networking opportunity and face-to-face contact. As a person who's had a personal experience with Lyme disease in the past, what has it been like for you to work with some of the world's top experts in Lyme?
Well, again, I feel like I'm sitting on the shoulders of giants here. There's some amazing. It's always nice to put faces with names that I've heard over the years. And again, coming from upstate New York, I've heard, several of these names over the years, and it's just amazing to be able to work with them. And quite honestly, to that they're all down to earth. I mean, this is where you can fangirl as much as you want on some of these folks, but they're still clinicians active in seeing patients. And so you really do have to pull back and go, oh, well, their bedside manner is just phenomenal. Well, of course it is, because they're seeing patients, but it's great to have that balance of, wow, there's just some amazing knowledge and an amazing training that has happened over the years from some of these folks that it really has just been fantastic. But the other thing I want to point out is, on the flip side of that, we have so many new clinicians coming into this community that's energizing as well to me. I mean, when you have younger folks who have maybe been members for only a couple of years, but they've gone through fundamentals and the training and such, and they're just now feeling confident enough to submit an abstract for presentation, or they're publishing an article, and you see the next generation, I guess, would be really coming up and expanding on that knowledge, learning from it and expanding on. I think that's kind of the cool next thing to see. Like, let's see what's next coming from both sides of that. So it's been a really great experience, especially coming from, again, not a clinician, to be able to meet and talk and learn so much from these folks.
And are there any new projects ILADS is working on that you can share with our listeners?
Sure. So I think because our mission includes education, that's such a key component of it. We are always looking to expand opportunities. And like I mentioned, the physicians training program, we want to be able to expand that out beyond the physician, beyond the MD. Let's incorporate other levels of it. We're always looking for new on-demand learning, new webinars. I'm a huge proponent of collaborations and partnerships, and I'll use Lyme as an example of that. I'm hoping to be able to see what comes out of conversations and what gaps are there that ILADS can help fulfill, and vice versa. Lyme has been, I mean, you guys have been around for a number of years, and you are, again, in the trenches doing the work throughout the continent. And how can ILADS help you in those kinds of things? And so, like, as an example, we work with MAPS, the Medical Academy of Pediatric Special Needs, in terms of collaborative education. We brought them in for a pediatric track in the 2023 conference. We're going to do it again in 2024. We are regularly trading opportunities for learning, and I want to be able to do that with more medical societies, with more associations, with more organizations out there. ILADS is fantastic, but we know we haven't cornered the market. So let's see what's out there and learn from each other. And one other example that we are expanding our webinar learning, our online learning, is Project Lyme is doing several webinars over the course of several months. And rather than reinvent the wheel, ILADS is just partnering with them, and let's showcase their talents and have their speakers on, and then we'll be able to share that with our membership and beyond. And it just all those things help to raise the awareness and raise the education level of clinicians as well as the general public.
Yeah, I'm noticing a lot more collaborations going on in this field. I was going to ask, how does a clinician become a member of ILADS, and what is involved with that? Like, what do they get for being a member?
Absolutely. So again, first and foremost, as a medical society, membership is always first for us. And so it's a great process to be a part of. There's obviously an application that you put in, and we check all of your licensures and all the clinical background things. Our membership director will actually interview that individual, and there's some basic questions. Why do you want to join? What are you interested in? What education would you like to see? Things like that. And then our membership committee is the one that really approves those folks, but it's a pretty rigorous process. We try to make it quick and painless, but it's basically making sure that we have the right kind of mentality that wants to be in this kind of community learning. And so to be a member, we're always looking for ways to make that better for you. So, I mean, obviously, like I mentioned, education is the key to that. So as a member, one of the member benefits that you get right off the bat is access to all the webinars that we have, all that education. There's discounts, obviously, on coming to the conference and those kinds of things. And then one of the best things, I think, is our internal members only forum. And this is a member-to-member internal chat that folks can use. And it's a great opportunity for helping to diagnose and treat patients. Again, this is the opportunity where someone can post, hey, I have a patient that's presenting with these things. I've tried this, and this, what do I do? And let other ILADS members weigh in and help. And all of that is to provide the best care for that patient. And it's really, that's one of the awesome things, to see that go back and forth, to see some of those conversations happen. And it's a wonderful opportunity to showcase knowledge and new emerging trends and emerging therapies. And then we do what we can to make sure everybody is informed on what's going on in the policy land. Obviously, we're not an advocacy organization, but our members are often doing a lot of things in their own state organizations as well as on our nation's capital. And so we at least want to report on all those things that are happening. And again, making sure folks are staying up to date on new therapies and things like that. So that's the quick version of all the benefits.
Then can people access a list of clinicians that are ILADS trained?
Yeah, that's another great opportunity, actually, both internally and to the public. So there's two different things. So as a member, you have the opportunity to search other ILADS members for referral or for asking a question and such. And we offer that internally. To the public, though, this is kind of cool. We offer a provider search, and I know there's several of those out there in the world, and this is the one that offers to ILADS members. And we put that out. If you just go to ilads.org, there's a corner button that you can just click on provider search. And you can search by geography, by clinical background. We're actually trying to make that a little more robust and actually get into a little more specific data in terms of pediatrics or psychiatry or specialty knowledge on specific diseases. But it'll showcase if the member how long they've been a member of ILADS, if they've completed the various different trainings, if they're a preceptor with our physicians training program, but that's open to the public. And that's a great opportunity for a patient who is looking for somebody either in their geographic area or someone who's willing to do telemedicine to help them. That can be a game changer for them. So that's a great opportunity for patients as well as for clinicians.
Wonderful. And we can provide links in our show notes for any of those programs or courses that are being offered by ILADS. Yeah, and also we're starting to post some of your webinars and other courses on our events page at CanLime as well, so people can go there and find it as well.
Fantastic.
Was there anything else you wanted to add or talk about?
The only thing I wanted to make sure I brought up, and I may have brought this up already, on the educational foundation side of it, that's really the other key component to the success of ILADS. ILADF exists to raise funds for this community. We really focus on education research and being able to help various different projects through the foundation. But we are always fundraising. We're always asking for donations. If there's opportunity to support a clinician, it is through ILADF, because we offer grants so that folks can, like I said, attend education, come to the conference, be able to further their education in this community. So I always want to put a plug in for ILADF. And if you go to ilads.org, there's a donate button. It's as easy as that to be able to give and to support the next generation of clinicians.
Thank you so much for all that you're doing, Sarah, and everything that ILADS has done for people that have Lyme disease. And it's hard to imagine where we'd be right now without ILADS being there to support those patients that are left behind. So thank you too.
Well, and I throw gratitude back to both of you and to CanLime. I mean, this podcast, thank you for creating this platform to be able to get information out that people probably wouldn't have otherwise known about, and get it out in such a way that is easy to access, easy to listen to, and keep doing what you're doing. I hope that there's more opportunity to be able to do more of these kinds of things with CanLime, with you guys from the ILAD side. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
It was great to meet Sarah and hear all about what ILADS and ILADF has to offer. And what really stood out for me was her willingness to collaborate with different organizations and different people on trying to move things forward.
Definitely. I'd heard ILADS mentioned so much in research and everything for these episodes. And so it's really cool to just get into what they actually do and to hear about the foundation too, and just how they're supporting the medical community, learning more about Lyme and related diseases as well.
Yeah, it's interesting even to think back about the history of Lyme disease in the world and just the different groups that are out there with different agendas and how important it is to have different points of view. And ILADS is one of those points of view.
Well, make sure to tune in next time as we engage with more experts from Canada and around the world. Thanks for listening.